Hey YouTubers, well, I got an awesome video for you today. This is a product from VEVOR. This is their magnetic drill, and the reason I'm smiling is because I've always wanted one of these things ever since I was a kid, and I know that doesn't make any bit of sense, but I remember watching all the movies and stuff where, you know, the bank robber would come in and he'd have all the tools set up and he would drop down out of the ceiling and find the vault and then stick a magnetic drill on the side of it and then slowly start drilling the lockout, and then he's left with millions of dollars. So we've got the drill out on the table, and just my first thoughts of it is it's made out of cast metal. And so, you know, it seemed pretty robust, you know, when I pulled it out of the package. So I'm pretty happy with that. The only plastic that I seen on it was just the orange housing right here. But this orange over here, like I said, this is all cast metal. And then you got a really thick, heavy handle to pick that up on. I mean, literally, that's solid right there. And the only other plastic that I seen was just here on the button. And then this here is your on and off switch right there. And then this switch is to control the magnet to turn it on and off. But we're going to go ahead and start the assembly. All you have to do is just take and start assembling all the handles and get all those in place. And once I get these all screwed in, then I'll come back. I'm probably going to put a little anti-seize on these just to, you know, make sure that they don't seize up in there if I have to take them off at a later date to put it in a box or something to store it. All right, guys, so I got all three of the arms screwed on there. All I did was just take a little bit of anti-seize lubricant. If you're not familiar with it, you can pick it up at any part store, or I'll try to link it in the description down below if you want to get it from Amazon. But it just pretty much keeps the handles from seizing up in that steel piece, you know, down there. If you ever want to take the handles on and off, don't know if I will or won't, but if I do, put it in like a storage box, because this is not something I'm going to use every single day, so I might store it away, and I just didn't want one of them handles to get stuck in there. After screwing the handles on and rotating this thing up and down a few times, I've noticed that it really is a solid piece, you know, and I'm not gonna pad for VEVOR and say, oh, it's better than what it is, but I gotta say, just first impression, I was really impressed, because, you know, I'm looking at play, side-to-side play on here, on this little slide here, and this is all metal, and you can see there's gears right here. So when I turn this handle, that gear inside aligns with those gears right there. So let's say I want to lower it down, you can see that it's smooth. The reason it's moving on the table is because I've not got the magnet turned on. Of course, it won't work on a plastic table, but it does feel really smooth, and everything seems to be oiled. You know, I'll probably go back and re-oil everything just because it's new, and I'm a weirdo. I like I'm OCD about stuff, and I want to make sure that it's well oiled. But just right out of the box, it seems like it does have a good amount of oil on it. And then one other thing, I said that this was all metal right here, and you've got this little gear strip here in the back. But one thing that really impressed me was right here. Let me raise it all the way up. You see this goldish color right there? That's all brass. You know, brass is soft. It acts as a good little slide for that to move up and down on. And yeah, I was surprised that that was made out of brass. I mean, that's a better quality material. And for as cheap as this thing is, I was shocked that, you know, it was that it was made from brass. I figured they would just make it out of steel and throw it together. But yeah, it seems to be pretty good made. And like I said, when I lift it all the way up and just try to, you know, press on it, there's no play. Like, there's no play in it. And you can, if you're looking right here, if you see any wiggle, it's from the table here. But I mean, I can't, just by twisting it, there's no play right in there where it's locked on that little groove. So it should give a pretty precise hole once I get it hooked down with that magnet. It should be pretty precise. So while I've got it turned around this way, go ahead and install this little reservoir for so you know you're not drilling dry. And so you've got these two little screws that has the knurled ends on it. You just loosen those up, and this little cage sits up there, and then you've got the little reservoir. And I thought this was pretty cool. If you see the little blue thing right there, that's not a plug. That's made like a shark bite fitting. You just push the hose down in there, and it stays, and it seals it up. And so I guess you would take and run it out like this here, and then take your other side and then just push it in just like that. And yeah, trying to pull out on it, it's stuck in there. The way that you would take that off is you mash the little blue slide piece out, just like on a shark bite fitting, and it comes out. So that is pretty cool. And then you just put some cutting oil in the reservoir, then you should be good to go. Now, I'm not going to be needing the reservoir today. I'm just going to drill a couple of holes for you guys. So I'm going to just spray penetrating oil on there manually. I don't have any cutting oil that I can find, but yeah, I'm going to take this off, and I just figured I'd show you guys how that goes on there if you're interested in using that, if you got a big job to do. All right, so this particular drill allows you to use the core style drill bits. You got 11 of them that come with this drill bit. I've not pulled these out of the package yet, but then also if you want to use just like a regular drill bit, this is just one that I have, that has the little hex shank on the bottom. You could use that, or you could just use the little smooth shank one to hook into this chuck here. And it does come with, a supplied chuck. And the way that this chuck hooks into the bottom of the magnetic drill there is you've got a set screw there and a set screw there. And then this little adapter here has a machined flat right in there and a machined flat right in there. And so you would take and just slide this up on the bottom here, and what you want to do is then you just go ahead and tighten them down. Now, I'm sorry if I'm a little shaky on camera. I had an infusion yesterday at the hospital, and they had to give me some steroids for my gout, and I'm a little shaky today. So it's not the best day for me to be doing this review, but oh well, I figured I'd try my best to get it done anyway. But anyways, go ahead and tighten these up, and then now you've got pretty much just like a regular drill, and you can take and chuck any bit into the chuck that you want. It's just like a regular drill, and you can see that the chuck is starting to come down right in there, and then you can take and put the bit in there, and then once it starts getting tight, then they give you a key to tighten it down with, and then you just tighten it down just like a regular drill, guys. There's nothing special to it. Now, this is where I found my first problem that I ran into, and like I said, I shoot it to you guys straight. So if you want a channel that blow smoke up your butt, switch and go to one of those other guys, because I'll tell you how it is. This is one thing that I did find that was a problem. Let's say you want to drill into something using a regular bit. If you've got a longer bit down here, it's not going to work. You're going to need some sort of specialty bit that is short enough, that has a short enough shank on it. So when you push it all the way up into that chuck, it's not hanging down below the surface piece that you're trying to drill out. Because if let's say the table was metal and I wanted to drill a hole through it, and I go to let this down, you can see the drill bit hits right there. So you're gonna, let's see if I can show that better on the camera. You can see the drill bit touches the workpiece before I can even start drilling. So that's no problem if you have some specialty bits that have a shorter shank on them. Now, I know this one here is a little bit longer than normal, but not that much longer than a normal bit. And this one is, like I said, one that has the hex shank on the bottom of it, and it is a longer bit that I have. So anyways, you'll have to find your own set of bits that is shorter, or you could take and cut them off if you have some just junk bits that you don't care nothing much about. You could cut them off and make them shorter to work with this, and that's as high as it'll go where I've got it set. So anyways, let me pull this back out, and I'm going to show you the core bits, and hope this is not a deal breaker for you guys. For me, it's definitely not, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention if you're planning on using regular link drill bits. So next, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to hook in these core bits here. There's, like I said, there's 11 of them, and so I'm just going to grab the largest one here out of the bunch, and this is a HSS 27 by 30 millimeter, and they come in their own little plastic case. I'm going to move them all to the side so you guys can get a better view. But they come in their own plastic case, and then they're wrapped in plastic, I guess, so they don't rust. They do have a light coating of oil on them. And I always had this question, and I never knew the answer because I never could afford one of these. All right, so if you're wondering, how do you find the very center of where you're going to be drilling at on these core bits? On a regular drill bit, you know where the point is. You can see it right there. So, on one of these core bits, they have put the homework in and thought about how, you know, this should work. And so they've got this little, it's like a little center punch is what it looks like, and it just drops down from the top, it sticks out the bottom, and it's got a little point on it, just like a regular drill bit. And that helps you find the very center of the workpiece you're going to be drilling into. And if you're sitting there wondering, where does this little piece go, because it's sticking down below, and once you chuck it in, where is it going to go? It's not going to, the cutters are not going to be able to reach the workpiece. It's just going to be riding on this right here. Well, there is a spring in the center there, so whenever you touch your workpiece, this just rises up into that little spring area, and you know, just puts enough pressure on it just so you know where your center point is on your workpiece, where you can get a precise hole. And so I thought that was really cool. Like I said, I've never used one of these, so I'm really playing around with this thing because I've always been interested in it, but never had one. And if you're wondering, why would I always want, you know, a mag drill? Well, you know, I told you why I wanted one as a kid. I can tell you why I wanted one as an adult. Well, one time I decided to build a bumper for the front of my Jeep, and so I had I was gonna, you know, weld some hook tabs on the front of the bumper, so I needed to drill the hole out for the pin for the shackles, and I didn't have a drill that was big enough to drill that big of a hole out, and it wouldn't accept as big of a drill bit that I needed. So my girlfriend's dad lived next to us, and so it was probably about midnight, and I didn't want to wake him up, but I really wanted to borrow his drill. So I snuck in his shop in the middle of the night because I knew he wouldn't care, but you know, I didn't want to turn the lights on in his shop and you think there was a burglar in there and get shot or whatever. So anyways, I snuck in and I went in his shop, and I found his old Black & Decker from probably the 50s. It was a big old industrial drill. And anyways, I took it back up to my house, and I'm out in the middle of the yard with this big old industrial drill and a drop cord running out the yard, and I'm trying to drill the hole out on the tabs that I welded on the bumper, so I could put the recovery shackle on there. So I knew it was a really big drill bit that I was using. I was kind of laying on my back, and I was trying to drill above me, and I'm still a young buck. I was probably 20, and I thought I was super strong, and I was, like I said, I was on my back trying to drill that hole in that bumper for that recovery shackle. And that drill was way more powerful than the Black & Decker that we know today. I mean, it was a very, very strong drill, and that drill caught into that heavy metal, and when that thing hit, it popped me in the side of the head, and it twisted my wrist really bad. I thought I broke my hand. And anyways, I learned my lesson. So right then and there, I was like, gosh, I wish they had one of those mag drills. So I went and started researching them, and I was like, man, that's out of my budget. I'm only 20 years old. I can't afford a $1,000 mag drill. So, you know, if you're wondering why this would come in handy, there's your explanation. There's a good reason right there. If I'd had a mag drill, I wouldn't have got hurt, and I would have been able to drill a precise hole in that bumper. And so anyway, we're gonna go ahead and chuck this up in there. Probably need to loosen these up a little more, and I know my hand's in the way of the camera, and I'm sorry guys. Go ahead and tighten this one down. And when I say tighten them down, I'm not like going super tight on them. I'm getting them snug, but you can see there's no play in that. I mean, there's no play in the bit. Now right there at the top part where the motor is able to twist, obviously it's going to move, but there's no play down here in the bit. So anyways, we are going to take this thing outside now, and I get to finally, after 46 years, I get to play with a mag drill, and I'm excited about it. So I've got a piece of 1/2-inch steel right here, and you can see right there where I tapped that out a few weeks ago on this same piece of steel. And then I just wanted to show you this is loose right here. You can see I've not got it turned on, but watch this. I've got this thing mounted to a welding table, and I've got it clamped down, and then I've got my arbor press here. That thing weighs like 150 something pounds, and so I've got this thing weighted down, and I've got it pushed up against the block steps there, and just right here on the back of my house. This is my little junk area where nobody can see. And so anyways, this is where I work on a lot of stuff. And so anyways, the table that I'm on is on casters, so it can move, but I just wanted to show you when I turn the magnetic part on, just how strong it is. and there's a military helicopter flying overhead right now, so give it a minute and I'll come back and show you. I just wanted to show you again, this thing's loose, the magnet's not turned on yet, but this set of switches over here controls the drill. So there's your on, there's your off, and this switch over here controls the magnet. Now watch when I turn the magnet on. You can see that thing suck down to that metal. I'm telling you, the magnet on this thing is crazy strong. Look at that. I've got the whole welding table moving with that 153-pound Dake Arbor press, and I mean, this table's pretty freaking heavy. I mean, you see that's a thick top. It's aluminum, but the table is steel, and you know, it has no problem moving that around. So if you was to put this on a vertical surface, it's definitely going to hold. I can promise you that. And I can put my foot up against it and try to pull. I mean, literally, I ain't putting all my strength into it because I don't want to break it off the base. But I mean, literally, I don't know its limitations, but I can tell you it's strong enough to hold this vertical on the side of a whatever you're drilling. So anyways, I'm gonna quit running my mouth. We're gonna turn this thing on and we're gonna watch this thing drill a hole. So, oh, I gotta go get some cutting fluid or some WD-40 or something to stick on here so I don't burn that bit up. I know this is not proper, but I should be using some cutting oil, but everybody knows this is the redneck go-to of the South, WD-40. We use this for everything. So anyways, I'm just gonna go ahead and squirt a little bit on there, and I know I'm shaking really bad, guys. I'm sorry. The joys of getting old. But I'm gonna put some on the bit itself, and that should be good enough. We're gonna go ahead and turn this baby on. It sounds really powerful. Now I stop right there because look at the size of the piece of shards that thing is putting out. I mean, that's what you want to see. That lets you know that that's a really sharp bit. And you know, I figured I'd put a little more WD in there just to make sure it stays nice and sharp. But you seen that thing was pretty freaking powerful. I mean, literally, I was bogging it down just a little bit when I was putting a little too much pressure on it, but I'm telling you, you know, it felt like it had plenty of power on the motor. Here we go again. All right, guys, that is ridiculous. You seen? Look how clean that cut is. I mean, like I said, that's 1/2 inch steel, and you can look down there at my foot. There's the plug that it cut out, and I'm not picking that up for obvious reasons, but you can see that it did a fine hole. I mean, literally, it did a really good job at cutting that out. Like I said, you got these little metal pieces, and that's why I was kind of backing up too. I was trying to get my girlfriend to back up with the camera. I didn't want her to get burned with these little shards flying off. And you can see, you know, that's what you want to see on a sharp drill bit. These little longer pieces, that just lets you know that it's really cutting through there, and it did. So I'm very impressed. And you see all these little pieces stuck to the magnetic part of the base there too. And you can see right here, look at that. I mean, that magnet is super freaking strong. So I am very impressed. Even when I was putting some pressure down on the handle there, it was still just powering through it. So literally, you know, I heard one guy in one of the YouTube videos say, well, if I owned a business, you know, I would probably, you know, stay with a bigger name brand, you know, but, you know, for household use and things like that, you know, I would get a VEVOR. You know, if you use it every once in a while, get a VEVOR. I don't think that's correct. If it was me and I had a business, I would, you know, get 3 of these for the price of the D-wall, and you got all those extra bits, which is going to be a big cost. And then if the first one breaks, chunk it, buy it, and you already got another one. If that one breaks, you got another one. So literally, you know, if you run a business and you've got multiple people working for you, you know, you could throw one in their vehicle. And so to me, I just think it's a no-brainer. I wouldn't spend $1,000 on the D-wall. I mean, I really wouldn't. I can't tell you if this thing will hold up long term, but I can tell you right here, right now, the bits were sharp, the thing is powerful, and it does a really good job. Now, let's turn the magnet off. You've seen that as soon as I turn it off, I seen a shard fall off, and I've seen the thing just, you know, really let loose of the metal. Watch when I turn it back on, watch. Man, it sucks it down to that metal. That's really cool. So I'm gonna turn it off now. Watch it lift up. Wow. Now I'm gonna back it up. Let's drill another hole. I'm excited. I want to use this crazy thing. You can see I haven't got it turned back on yet. Watch this. Man. So I'm gonna take and drill another one. Put a little cutting fluid down there. Or I say cutting fluid. I don't know why I keep saying that. WD-40. Redneck cutting fluid. Here we go. Let me try to move back so these little metal shards don't burn us. And then here we go. Checking it, make sure. Guys, I gotta say, you know, that thing's got some balls to it. This ain't some Chinese piece of junk that don't work right. I gotta say, it works really, really good. And I'm sitting here thinking of several uses I can use this on. You know, if you're a car guy, you could think of a million ways and uses for this. If you're, you know, a structural guy that deals with building metal structures, then I'm sure you could think of a million uses for this. And so, yeah, I'm pretty impressed with. You've seen this thing cut through 2 holes. You see how powerful the magnetic part is. I mean, literally, this is not a light table. So, very impressed with this, as with all the VEVOR stuff that I've got. Now, I'll be honest, you know, I was no fan of Harbor Freight, and still don't really like Harbor Freight that much, because I found some of their stuff's really cheap. But the VEVOR stuff, every bit that I've got from them, the sockets and some of the other stuff that I've got, it just works. And I'm very, very impressed with this one as well. Especially right now, they've got them on their website under $200, and that, like I said, that's for the bits and the drill and everything. So I'll put a link for the VEVOR website down in the description down below, and also in the comment section. And if you're interested in it, check it out. I promise you won't be disappointed. But as far as the quality of it, and there being no play right there, look at that. There is no wiggle right there, and that's where I expected there to be some slop at. Look, I'm holding the motor part. I'm not holding anywhere else. And there's no slop between the frame here and that little channel where this motor rides in. I mean, it is solid as can be. And so, like I said, I wouldn't tell you guys to go buy it if it was a piece of crap. I would let you know that it was a piece of crap. Just like I told you about the regular drill bits, you're going to need some short ones. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. As always, it's just a real review from a just an average dude that likes playing with tools. And you know, check it out. Like I said, link is in the description. Please like and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, guys, see ya.